Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mel Hartley. I'm a financial blogger and former actor/model. In today's video, we're discussing financial advice for the struggling actors out there. Okay, so I wanted to do this video in celebration of the Oscars this weekend. I am a die-hard movie nerd. I have a long history with the movie business, and I'm even an LAFS alum. Yes, I love the film industry so much. I went into debt for it. So basically, there are four main things that actors struggle with. Number one, working full-time but having no time for auditions. So you're working a full-time job, maybe money is good or it's okay, but you're not actually going out and living your dream because you're working the whole time and you don't have time to actually go on these auditions. Number two, working part-time but struggling to pay bills because you're just not making enough money. Number three, this is probably the most common, working evenings and weekends, bartending or serving, and not having the energy to audition in the mornings. Number four, acting full-time and struggling to pay bills because you're not even living paycheck to paycheck, you're living paycheck, question mark, to paycheck, question mark. If you're an actor or aspiring actor, or even if you just decided yesterday that you think it would be cool or a fun side gig, you really have to think realistically about what it really takes to be an actor or what it really means to be an actor. Side note, sometimes people do get lucky and they just happen to stumble upon a movie set while walking their dog and the director's like, oh hey, do you want to be in this movie, this blockbuster? It's Leonardo DiCaprio stars. Do you want to just come on over? And you're like, sure. I have nothing better to do with my afternoon. Why not? But trust me, that's not the norm. That's not how it usually works. It's a business. Businesses need to make money. They need to make a profit. Otherwise, it's just a hobby. Hobbies are great. But if you're trying to do this to make a living and to pay your bills, you have to make enough money to support your lifestyle and pay your bills. So how are you supposed to manage your finances in the meantime before you make it as the next Margot Robbie or Brad Pitt? It all comes down to financial strategy. You have to think big picture, think long term, not just I want this now, I want to be famous now, I want to be successful now, because that's not realistic. That's not the norm to happen that way. So I have a few tips. Tip number one, don't bite off more than you can chew financially. I am guilty of this in the past. One of my biggest financial mistakes was living in apartments that I couldn't afford. Honestly, looking back, if I could have stayed living with my mother, I could have, but when you're young, you want to break out of the nest and you want to be your own person. And I wanted my freedom so bad. I actually tried to get emancipated when I was like 16, but I would move out to these places and, when you're like 18, 19, 20, what skills do you have? You don't have a lot of career experience. You're not gonna out the gate just be making all this money. Well, I guess it's a little bit easier now, like with all the YouTube and the MLMs and like all that kind of stuff. But back in my day, it was a little harder, and I was only qualified for like part-time minimum wage type jobs, so it's really hard to afford. Even then, like apartments were not cheap. even like a studio or 1 bedroom. So, and I'm a city girl, so I always wanted to live in the city. My thing was, and I justified it as, I want to live someplace safe. I want to live in a secured building. And it would be nice to have the amenities, like if there's a gym in the apartment building, it would save me money on a gym membership, yada, yada, yada. So, your rent is typically about 1/3 of your income or more, which is a lot, especially in Los Angeles or New York City, Miami, Chicago, like any of those places where there's a lot of theater or music or, film, modeling, like anything like that. It's gonna cost more. So when you set your budget, you have to consider your rent as like the biggest portion. You can kind of make do with other things, like, if you have to put $100 or whatever for groceries on a credit card, that's easier to pay off, other than if you're putting your rent on a credit card every month. Like, that is going to take so much longer to pay off, unless, you get a gig and it pays really well. But just, you don't want to think in hopes of, well, this might happen. You want to be financially secure, because then you don't have to worry, or you're not going to be as worried about finances. So take into consideration rent. Where are you living? What city are you in? What is the average cost of rent? And you might have to settle. I live near the beach, which was really important to me because I wanted to live close to nature. I wanted to live somewhere where I could walk everywhere. I drive to work because it's a little bit of a hike if I wanted to walk, but I guess I could bike there, or take a bus or things like that. But so I do drive to work, but technically, like, if I had to, I could walk. And then on the weekends, I just walk everywhere. Or if I have to go to the grocery store or run an errand, it's not that far away. So I wanted to live specifically over here, but I budgeted for it, and I had a number that I was comfortable with, and I'm not going over this number as far as rent. And it's very easy to do when you live in the city, downtown, uptown, near the beach, in nice, highly populated areas. Of course, it's going to be more expensive. So you have to have a number that your budget is comfortable with and stick to it. And if that means that you can only afford to rent a room in, someone's guest house, or you have to have like 4 roommates, then that's what you have to do. And my ego really got in the way of that. Like, no, I want to do this. I want to have it my way. And is your ego or the lifestyle that you were living more important than your end goal of wanting to be a successful actor? Because a lot of actors tell their stories. They slept on couches, they lived in hostels, or they just they lived in their car. They bounced around, had no stable home, didn't really know like if they would have a roof over their head that night. And you don't want to have to live like that, and you don't have to live like that if you are smart and you plan things. So tip number 2, don't spend money like you're an A-list celebrity. A huge problem, when you come to LA or you come to New York, you're fresh off the boat and you get really excited and you make new friends and you want to, there's all this cool nightlife and there's all this like, this energy and restaurants and all this like cool stuff that maybe you didn't have back in your hometown. And that, they always kind of warn people, like, that sucks you in, it draws you in, and you end up spending so much money, extra money that you either don't really have because you're putting on a credit card, or you're just spending money on things that don't matter, they're not getting you anywhere. And a lot of people, oh, well, if I go out, I might meet somebody, I might meet a director, I might meet, it's networking, blah, 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 blah. People who are like the who's who and who are like really important people that they're at a higher up level enough to like get you that role in a, mega A-list ensemble cast movie, like they're just not gonna be at like Bootsy Bellows or something. They might, but they're not gonna be, it's rare, and they're having fun, like they're out with their friends or it's a birthday or whatever, like they're not there necessarily to network. So you can't put all of your eggs in that networking basket. So don't waste money. It's one thing to, if you want to splurge because your friend's having a birthday party and they really want to do bottle service, or they want to go to this really nice restaurant and everyone's gonna have to like chip in to like pay for them, or they want to do a Vegas trip or a fun activity, like that's totally different. But that's something that you can budget for and you can plan for. And if you can't afford it, like it's it's the same thing with like if a friend's having a wedding, like, and they want to have a bachelorette party, a bachelor party, and you're like, I don't have $1,000 to go on a bachelorette party to Vegas or Miami right now, then you just have to say no. Like, you have to say no sometimes. That's just life. And it's uncomfortable because when you're new, you want to fit in. You don't want to say no because you might be afraid that people like, oh, they might never ask me again to go hang out here. Like, no, they'll ask you. Like, or you can offer like, hey, I can't make it this time, but like, let's go grab lunch or something. And then you kind of weed out the people who are just like your party friends and who really like want to get to know you. Like going to lunch, an intimate one-on-one lunch with someone to get to know them is totally different than like, hey, let's go clubbing. Like, you can't get to know someone on a deeper level going clubbing, which bottle service in general, like, if you can afford it, that's totally fine. It's that living within your means is fine. It's fine to spend more money or to spend money on something if it's within your means. And your means could be like, I'm a millionaire, I make like $500,000 a year. Like, okay, going to a club even like every weekend, you can probably afford it. But if you're a struggling actor or just anyone struggling with finances in general, you can't afford it. You can't. And you can tell yourself all the excuses or try to justify it, every which way. But at the end, it's not important. You're not gonna die. No one's gonna die because you didn't go to the club that night. You're not gonna lose friends. And if you do, then you know that they're not a real true friend. Like, and so you're saving yourself time, money, sparing the feelings, all of that. So just don't do it. Tip number 3, save up money before you commit to becoming an actor full-time. I wish I would have taken this advice when I was younger. I literally moved to LA when I was 20 years old with like, and this could even be exaggerated, with like $300 to my name. I had no money. I had nowhere to go, nowhere to live. I had a car. It was a crappy car, but I just didn't plan. I kind of resent even though I was an adult, I resent my mother a little bit because I wish she would have been like, no, absolutely not. You're not doing that. because, and looking back, I definitely could have made it work. I was very lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it. I was lucky enough to move in with family friends, and I didn't have to pay rent. I lived there for like 9 months when I first moved to LA, and I got a job within like, I think the first month and a half. So in hindsight, I could have saved a ton of money, but because of trauma, which I talk about in my other videos, I wasn't in a headspace to like really plan ahead, and I was kind of self-sabotaging, and that's when my shopping addiction like really started. Like I had money. I mean, I didn't have like, I wasn't like super rich or anything, but you know, for a 20-year-old who all I really had was like credit card bill, and I think I had one credit card and my car payment and like gas, food, you know, I didn't have to pay rent, which is such a huge, you know, it takes up so much of your paycheck when you're trying to save up money. But yeah, so I should have been saving. And then when I did move out, I would have had plenty of money to live off of, and then I could have really pursued acting and modeling like full time. I could have really dedicated my time to it. And that's what you have to do as an actor or a model. Like, you have to treat it like it's a real career, because it is a career. It's not just like, I mean, you could be like you can model for fun, like especially nowadays with Instagram, like just, you know, one of your friends has a cool camera, a nice camera, you could go take some pictures and edit them all cute and then put them on Instagram or whatever and get some likes. That's just like a hobby, that's for fun. But if you're trying to pursue something as a career and be taken seriously as an actor or a model, you have to put the time and the effort into it. It's just like with any other job. And just because acting, I mean, some people think it's easy. It's not easy. You're spending a lot of time, you know, dedicating to your craft, to learning the skill of acting. Depending on whether you're a theater actor or a film actor, you have to spend time, like, you know, acting for film is different than acting for theater. So kind of like deciding like, what kind of actor do I want to be? And there were some really good classes. I took one that was like, it was more focused on like the business side of acting, and it was so good because it really like opened my mind to like, oh yeah, like this is an actual legit career that I could have, and you know, I can make this work financially for myself. And just because, you know, people think that, oh, like in order to make it as an actor, you have to be like Cameron Diaz and Brad Pitt, and you have to like be this mega super star, you know, paparazzi following you everywhere. And like, that's not true. Like, there's lots of actors who are very, what I would consider successful, because they're able to buy their home, pay for their home, you know, have a mortgage, pay for their mortgage, or their rent, their car payment, and they're just doing commercials, or they're, you know, doing like bit parts in movies and stuff like that. They're not like famous. They're not like, you might recognize them if you saw them, but you definitely don't know their name. But to me, that you're making a living acting, so it doesn't matter whether you're famous or not. So definitely save your pennies and think about, again, like taking all those costs into consideration. Like, how much is my rent going to be? How much are utilities per month? My car payment, you know, all of that. And then figuring out how much you need to save. Is this going to last me 3 months? What if I don't get a paying gig for 3 months or longer? So yeah. Tip number 4, keep your 9 to 5 and then just create your own projects. We live in, you know, this awesome world of Instagram and all this technology that is at our fingertips. Like, it's so easy. You can literally just download an app and create a video, like a movie or whatever. And you don't, it's not like how it used to be where you have to get like a camera and like like get all this crew and do, like, you can totally do guerrilla style these days and make it work. TikTok, YouTube, Vimeo, like you can upload your videos like anywhere, and whether you want to be an actor, comedian, model, like anything creative, you can do it yourself. You don't necessarily need to sit around and wait. I mean, obviously, like that's like the end goal for most actors is to like win the Academy Award and, you know, be like in a movie with Leo and, you know, all these famous people, Jennifer Aniston. But if you are in a position where you're just not comfortable leaving your full-time job that, you know, gets your bills paid, that's totally fine. Like maybe you want to kind of, instead of all in right away, you want to just kind of ease into it. And with a full-time job, you can totally have like a side hustle of creating videos and, you know, maybe being more like an influencer, and maybe that leads to like bit parts or cameos or something, and like you can use that as leverage to get your foot in the door like a different way. So right now there's not like an end-all be-all way to become an actor. So if it's easier, you know, just do it. I mean, you have to do what's right for you and what you feel comfortable with, but I want to give like some options of what works for, what could work for you, and then you can kind of weigh it out for yourself and see what you prefer. That's all for today's video. I highly recommend following Amuser's Career Academy on Instagram for more business advice. It's all geared towards actors and models and like entertainers. And now I want to hear from you. Was this helpful? Was this advice helpful? Comment below if you want me to share a step-by-step budgeting guide for actors. And follow me on Instagram for more advice, inspiration, and my own financial wellness journey. Have a financially fit weekend, and we'll see you later.